A mistake which I deem to might have made in the past, and which every day now I work and ensure that it doesn't happen again, is giving in to possible pressures. Like when you're working in organizations, not just Melita, but I've worked in other organizations before. Sometimes you get called into a meeting without knowing what's going on, and you're actually pressured to give the answer that they want to hear. That is not always the best way forward. It's good to put down your foot and stick to what you deem is the correct approach. I am Dr. Gertrude Micallef, and I am the Head of Legal and Regulatory Affairs at Melita Limited. So I joined Melita way back in 2011, after having worked in completely different sectors, but always obviously as a lawyer. And from legal counsel, I was then along the years promoted to senior legal counsel. And in 2018, I became the head of legal and regulatory affairs. So it was a progression within the company. My day at the office, usually I like to come to the office early, so it's all nice and quiet, so I can start doing certain work before everybody comes in, because once the workforce comes in, the questions start, the knocking at the door starts, and people just pass by asking for various advice or bringing along any issues or problems that come along on a daily basis, basically. So when I decided to become a lawyer, as much as it might sound, let's say, odd, or possibly maybe not the right motivation, the fact that I am from the gentle gender, the fact that I'm female, meant that at times I felt that there was an underestimation, and the idea of becoming a lawyer meant that I would actually look into various aspects, and I would acquire a certain amount of knowledge in various specific subjects. So the idea was that knowledge was the key, and that is why I really wanted to become a lawyer. And I must say that I was correct, because it helps not just in the job, but in my daily life as well. I believe at Melita, I did not encounter any obstacles from the fact that I am a female. I must say that Melita has a 40% workforce which is female, and we have also targets tied to the fact that we encourage having female employees. The legal department is made up of female lawyers only. And also, Melita embraces a work-life balance. So there is the assistance and for any needs that may be it family needs, there is a good work-life balance. So it encourages female participation as well. I must say that I consider that this is one of the main successes at the moment, because I think that striking a balance between the work and the family life is important, especially with the hectic lives we lead and with the family life which actually requires attention as well. Again, I think Melita has been very supporting. I can work from home, I work from the office. It sort of leaves it in my hand how to work my hours. So that allows me also to be there present for my daughter. I think in order to motivate the staff, you need to always provide them with some sort of challenge or goal and make sure that they are always empowered and that they are recognized as well. In order, I believe that at work, success, I don't deem it as me advancing and becoming the head of legal and always being there at the forefront, but pushing the other younger lawyers and enabling them basically, because I think that that is how they actually are motivated and how they actually work better. At this point in my career, I believe that the motivation which I have is practically actually empowering my colleagues, because their success is usually the success of the department. So that is my main motivation. Since I was a student, obviously achievements do change, considering what your best achievement is change along the years. But since I was a student, I always wanted to work for a company, and actually having managed to reach a senior management role where I have a say also in the management and the decisions taken in a company such as Melita, which is now considered as a utility basically, because as we could see during the years of COVID, nobody can stay without the services, especially the internet. So the fact that I actually managed to balance between having a family and being in such a position within Melita, I believe that is something I consider as my achievement. I think to avoid procrastination, one needs to remember that whatever you don't do today is going to be there waiting for you tomorrow. And if it is the most boring thing that you have to do, I find that it's best to get it out of the way. It's like with food on a plate. I'd rather leave the best for last rather than find it there at the end. A mistake which I deem to might have made in the past, and which every day now I work and ensure that it doesn't happen again, is giving in to possible pressures. Like when you're working in organizations, not just Melita, but I've worked in other organizations before. Sometimes you get called into a meeting without knowing what's going on, and you're actually pressured to give the answer that they want to hear. That is not always the best way forward. It's good to put down your foot and stick to what you deem is the correct approach. I believe that given that I'm a lawyer and whatever I do comes with disclaimers, it is good to have a strong work ethic in the sense that if something, well, law is written black and white, however, there are various interpretations. So it is good to try and enable the business by giving an interpretation which the business would like to hear. However, one must always remember that work is not just everybody hearing what they want, but you need to also ensure that the advice you're giving is the correct, whether it is what they want to hear or not. So I believe that that is something which is part of our ethic and we need to stick to it, and which is what we do and what I always encourage the younger lawyers, who obviously everybody tries to pressure even more, to do. Good question. Where do I see myself in the next 10 years? I've always been kind of, let's say, I've always wanted to work abroad. So possibly I would evaluate the possibility of working for a telecom company abroad. However, the only difference would be that a company abroad, being a bigger company, you would need to see what position you're going to work in order to actually benefit from what I currently benefit from, which is a the work variety. We touch on all sorts of subjects and points, so would have to see at that point in time what the situation is. So to anybody who has just started now, I would advise not to try and take the easy way out, because it might not be the rewarding way. I believe that you need to work hard and prove yourself, and that will lead you to actually reaching the position and the end goal that you have in mind.